Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to New to the Scene with Nick, Lance, Amber.
I think that's still my name.
It is. I hope so. Otherwise, I'm severely delusional in some sort of way. All right, so this episode we're putting a wrap up on
The Last of
The
Us.
Last of Us. Both this season, was it Walk Towards the Light? Is that what it's called? No, not Walk Towards the Light.
Look for the light.
Yep, they definitely, And then we'll also rate the season as a whole, I suppose.
Yes.
So, spoilers, because, if you're watching episode 9 of a thing in which we talk about spoilers, you can assume that in the last episode we'll be talking about spoilers. Not just for this episode, but the whole season.
Yeah.
So do yourself a service.
I don't think you could discuss the spoilers for this without going into any other episode.
Yeah, I don't think you could talk about this episode and not mention, and just go, made me feel this emotion, and someone would be like, oh, he felt that emotion. That's a spoiler.
I wonder what happens to make him feel that emotion.
Which, I mean, sometimes it is. If you were to tell me, like, man, I love this movie, and I'd be like, oh, shit, I know what Lance likes, and then therefore it gives me expectations. So, like, generally when there's a movie, that's why we like, movie, view, and I'm like, okay, thank you, and then I'll watch it and be like, bad, and you're like, me also bad.
I always think it's funny how clinical that we do this, where it's like, okay, watch this movie, and then I don't say another fucking word to you, and then you come over, and the only thing it said is, "Did you watch the movie?" And you're like,
"Yes,
I did." And we're like, "Very good."
And then we sit down, yeah, it's very good. And then we sit down and discuss and actually, let it know.
But when we watch things together, sometimes we do get informed of how we might be feeling because of the comments made during viewings.
Or Amber over there weeping.
Yeah, there was that one time that I just cried uncontrollably for like 5 minutes because of a TV show.
But the game, basically kind of did the whole volleyball set, and the show was like...
And then it hits you in the face.
Yeah.
I'm happy to report no tears this episode.
Yeah.
I got a little...
You got verklempt?
I got a little verklempt. There's a little bit of spilkus in my connected zoink. So
yeah, there was one scene when he sat down and kind of was talking about how he got his scar, and then it was the time didn't heal that wound.
Yeah.
And that was all you could say. And I'm like, oh, okay. How nice.
Yeah, well, that part got me a little bit, but the part that got me overall is when he walked in and looked at the doctor and he's like, unhook her, and he's like, I'm not letting you take her, and he just was like, pow.
Yep.
He was not there. There was no room for debate.
Yeah.
It's
it wasn't a question.
Yeah, it's like I'll unhook her if I have to. There's other people in here. Y'all can unhook her and share his fate. But I'm surprised. I don't know if he killed those nurses. Because they kind of they kind of cut away from that, but even the dude that was like, and he's just like, pow.
But realistically, he dropped his gun and put up his hands.
He could pick up his gun.
He could pick up his gun if because Joel wasn't going to stop to cuff him or anything like that.
Yeah, and he also wasn't going to get. They were doctors, not soldiers or whatever.
Yeah,
That's true. Well, it's the thing that the thing that reason that got me was. When I played the game originally, when I got to that point, I did everything in my power not to kill that doctor. Because he sits there, he pulls the scalpel on you, and he's holding it, and you go, and I was trying to get around him, and I was trying to duck underneath, and he just goes and follows you with that fucking scalpel. 10 minutes. 10 minutes I tried to get around.
I would have just immediately shot him.
Oh, and then, if I remember correctly, I shot him in the leg, and he folded like a fucking towel. And I was like, okay, well, apparently this guy can't take a shot to the leg. And he was just fucking dead.
Once he shot him right in the, what is it, carotid artery?
Or something.
Femoral.
Femoral. What?
Femoral.
Okay.
Femoral artery.
Where's the carotid? Is it the heart? No, right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Aorta is the big one that goes through with the vena cava. Is another one, but
welcome
the femoral
Dr.
goes
Talk.
through the leg.
And then
I just know that one because the one time you were playing Hackmaster, that's where you got crit. Oh, it's the leg. How bad could it be? Oh.
Harn?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good
Or
one.
was it? We think we did it to an enemy. You got it in the face.
I got a serious facial wound.
Yeah. I don't like Harvest.
No, it was a game that didn't last very long.
So
do we want to rate?
Let's go ahead and rate the season.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss a little bit more of the episode, and then we can decide if we need to do anything else.
Sure. So we're gonna rate the season, episode 1 and 2, and then 4 through 9, and then
Yes.
we're gonna rate episode 3.
Yes.
Because this was an 8-episode series with a movie, instead of episode 3. At least that's my thought.
I mean, I kind of feel that way because I feel like 3 really stands out. It was beautiful,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, but it really kind of is an anomaly within the season.
All right, so Amber, from 0 to 10, what would you give season 1 of The Last of Us?
You know, I'm a little torn because there's a lot that I really loved about the show, but I have a few complaints. I think I have to go with a low 8.
Okay, I was going a tiny bit high.
Yeah, I was debating between a 7 and 8 because there's some parts of it that I'm as I'm mulling it over in my head that I'm not as crazy about. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, Lance, what about you?
I would give the show a 9.
Again, went too high.
I knew it was a 9.
Oh, look,
Jeopardy.
I'm getting messages. I'm so popular.
Oh, they need to get your opinions.
How about,
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Nick?
I think I'm gonna give the season a 7. It was okay. I liked it.
All right. Well, I went one lower, just because, like, at the end of every episode, you were just like,
Meh.
yeah. It's a show. It's a show about the apocalypse, and like that's where I figured you were gonna kind of be.
You know what this is? It's my cards to my chest.
I didn't know we were playing that game, or I would have done the same thing.
We are always playing that game.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Now we gotta.
Now we're going to do episode 3. Give us a second because we all have to reshuffle our cards because,
Yeah, I know. What does Amber think of it? And what is that? I think I got it. Amber, you got your number out in your head?
Hang on, I'm moving my shit around.
he's still moving.
I'm also asking if you have the number in your head yet.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I know what I would rate episode 3.
All right.
Episode 3, the Bill and Frank Gay Love Fest episode.
Or we could just say Love Fest.
Yeah, gay love.
They found love in
she
a
meant
hopeless place.
She meant happy.
They found love in a hopeless place.
I would give that a 9.
Okay.
I really like that episode. It's probably my favorite if I had to include it in the 9 episodes. Otherwise, there's another episode that I would rate as my
Okay,
favorite.
which we can talk about in a second here. Lance, what about you?
I give that episode a 10.
I went way too low.
No, after we sat down and he was like, "This episode is the best episode I've ever seen," and it just touched me in places.
I did not expect that from Nick Offerman. I did not expect that from Ron Swanson. That fucking dude, in my opinion, can write a blank check to whatever the fuck he wants to do from now on because he was excellent. Shepard.
Now, I know like how awesome Nick Offerman is, to the point where I already trust him in absolutely anything. But that's mostly just because I trust him as a person.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of like interviews and whatnot with him in it, and he's just always, so
Very,
amazing.
very, very down to earth.
Yeah.
Very, very gracious.
Yeah, and well spoken and humble and all that sort of
And
stuff. I just like him.
He's got the best giggle in show business.
He does.
I fucking love it.
He also has a really sexy wife.
Megan Mullally.
Yeah.
She's amazing. All right, how about you? What do you give it?
I'm gonna give it an 8.
I went a little too high.
I did better.
It's good. I think it's a standout amongst because at first I'm like, okay, well maybe this show's going to be vignettes, and that would kind of go into your thing where you thought like maybe it's going to be 2 seasons. Where if you kind of meet a person, you do a vignette, and you meet a person, you do a vignette, and then you kind of continue with it and do a vignette. But this was kind of like Joel and Ellie. Here's Frank and Bill. Anyway, back to these people,
Yeah.
and they continued on with the season.
Well, so they didn't have to do that. I don't think anyone was expecting it. I was expecting what happened in the video game where you go into town, you run into Bill, Bill gets you to the school, and you find out he's just fucking crazy. They took one moment from the game that I was really kind of hoping that they would leave, where it was basically Frank wrote him the letter. It was just like, I
hate
can't
you.
fucking stand you.
Yeah.
I'd rather die than spend another moment with you, kind of a thing. And like Joel finds the letter, and then you come up and Bill's like, I think he was kind of like, what's that? And it was like, it's nothing. And you had a choice. You could tell him, you could show him the note, or you could like just be like, don't worry about it. But like, I don't think that was needed.
No, I mean I think it's kind of nice the way they did it too.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get a large number of, gay love stories between people that are shot nice. And even this one ends with them dying, but also the way they say it, it's not, it's not a tragic.
They chose
ending.
how to end their lives because one didn't want to continue living in the shattered state that he was basically in because of an illness out of his control.
Yeah,
and they had lived a long, what was it? We determined 16 years.
16.
16 years together. That's a wonderfully long time to be able to spend with the one person that you love most in the world.
And after we've seen, we watched the season, saw a lot of people die. They went out the best.
Yeah, they went
because everyone else died violently and horribly.
They died in their sleep, holding each other.
Yeah.
In their old age.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's not that tragic Romeo and Juliet
yeah.
Whatever, what is the trope? Bury your gays.
Yeah.
Bury
the gays. Bury your gays. There is an overwhelming amount of people that will put in gay people, whether they're female or male gay, into shows, and the entire purpose is that they're going to serve the purpose of being killed, like Tara McClay in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They killed Tara. She was in a gay relationship with Willow, and they buried their gay, and Willow became a big bad over her trauma of loss.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah.
It's a very popular trope.
Well,
it's like the main trope.
It's prevalent too. Where
well, I mean, it's. I guess I didn't hear of that particular one, but I did hear the one of if there's an African American if there's a person of color that's cast into a role that's directed by like a white person or whatever like that. Basically, you can almost guarantee they're going to die, and to where they started troping on it and stuff like Not Another Teen Movie and shit like that, where it was like, oh well, I guess I'm dead.
So I guess small spoiler for X-Men First Class. They cast a black man as the character that can't die,
and he fucking
and they kill him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tropes for reasons because there's a predictable pattern.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. It's
hopefully something we're leaving in the past and not having to deal with anymore.
It'll come around in revolutions. It depends on who's got control of the fucking baton at that point. But
so do you want to continue talking about the season, or do we want to let's for favorite episodes, or we want to talk about this episode and then
let's talk about this episode, then talk about our favorite episodes, I think.
Sure.
So, this episode was one that if you knew where this was going. Like, most likely, there was some debate on whether or not we thought it was going to get to this point in this season, but we all knew that this point was going to come where Joel's just like, I will burn the world down to save Ellie.
Yeah.
Fuck the world.
Yeah. He made the absolute right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was praying. I'm an atheist, but I was praying that they weren't going to basically make this the end of the first game. And I see what y'all are saying. I see your points of view on like why drag it out. The narrative kind of naturally reached this point. They told the story they needed to tell. I agree. I did enjoy a lot of the vignettes they did, the extra stuff. I was hoping that they would do more of that to kind of like stretch it out, because to me, a lot of that stuff wasn't filler. It was very informative and it added to the storyline. I wanted more addition to the storyline. Where I appreciate what they did was they didn't show a lot of fucking zombie yada.
There wasn't barely any. Like, we saw the bloater once.
Right.
Actually, that's one of the reasons why I downvoted it on my score is I really wanted to see more infected. We had, 2 episodes with infected? Mm-hmm. We had the ones in episode 2, and then we had the ones in episode 5. And you had a couple of, other ones here or there, but you didn't really see clickers. You did, we got one episode with clickers. We got one episode with a bloater where that was a horde of infected.
Mm-hmm. And then
I feel like they really downplayed the infected people as a threat, and I get it, but at the same time, I really wish I could have gotten more.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I do wish that we could have seen more zombie stuff. I'm glad they didn't bloat it to the point that, say, The Walking Dead did, because it seemed like the first several seasons of that show is what horse shittery can we stick them in that they can't fucking survive because of waves and waves of zombies.
Well, I mean, but
we meet Glenn in a tank surrounded by fucking undead.
But you have to also compare the two in the fact that The Walking Dead is like a month, 2-3 months after Outbreak.
And then
this
years
is
and years
20
and years.
years after Outbreak. So hordes should have been dispersed and died and broken down to a degree. You're going to obviously still find them in certain areas, but you shouldn't have roving hordes. And I think even I stopped watching The Walking Dead around the time that they got to whatever the town was up in Virginia. It was after the governor stuff.
Yeah. No, it's not Terminus. I don't remember.
But it was before the
It was
Negan
before
stuff.
the governor.
But
Think.
they were showing that the pockets of undead were dying down. That they weren't as huge.
Yeah, and that show definitely went with the undead are a thing, and it's more about people were the enemy. So I think one of the benefits. So I agree. I want more zombie infected content because that's fun. That's fun to watch. But by downplaying it and having them kill so few, you can still have an episode where there is just one. And it's still scary.
Yeah.
You get to the point in The Walking Dead where one zombie, why did you get bit by one zombie? Come on. Whereas in this one, every time an infected comes, they've got an amazing kill ratio. So whenever they show a zombie, like, someone dies. I don't know if there's an instance beyond the one that was, like, stuck in rubble, where they showed, like, one of the infected and no one got bit.
Yeah, it just kind of stood there and kind of laid there and looked at her. But it's
No,
like
he was stuck.
there were. So I'm probably wrong, and I'm sure someone will point it out. But it's like when they were in the zoo, and it's like I kept trying to say that they're not going to basically end it here. Hopefully, we'll get to a cliffhanger, and then they'll start it the next season. But when he walked around the corner and he saw the giraffe, I think I basically said to both of you, I was like, "Fuck, I think y'all are both right."
They were moving at a breakneck pace to get there towards the end.
The writing was on the wall.
Yeah. But it was like in the background past the zoo, if I remember correctly, you have to go through like an office building that had like the glass windows and everything like that. And like you're sneaking around in there. And I think that's where the fireflies were like trying to basically catch you before you get to the hospital area. And I think that building, something that reminded me of it was in the background. So I was kind of like, I hope they're going to stretch it out. Because as soon as those dudes crept out behind him and threw that fucking flashbang, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And butt stroke to the back of the head.
Yeah. But yeah, this season was great. I think we talked a little bit before the camera started, and I think we should touch on it a little bit now. They're gonna have to cast Abby.
Lance, we discussed that we're not discussing that.
Yeah. A character name.
I was just going to basically just bring up the challenge.
Delete Twitter.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. Just get rid of Twitter.
We really can't discuss that.
Okay.
It's too loaded, and you are giving way too much value about.
And I also don't necessarily want people in the comments to bring up what's going to come either, per se.
Sure.
If it can be avoided.
I just think it's a very interesting conversation.
It's an interesting conversation, but it's not the time to have it because it's directly related to spoilers from the second game.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future we can make a video when casting happens and maybe discuss it or something like that, but not here at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope they cast Mark Hamill. It'd be so good. Anyways, any other thoughts?
So I guess that was I enjoyed like the scene in which he's walking around like gunning people down, but I thought it was kind of weird to like fade out sound and just play the soundtrack over it. I'm like, you kind of like montaged him walking through the place gunning people down. I kind of want to see it a little bit more of it.
Joel gunning people down in the hospital.
Because I think I even laughed when he gunned down, what's her name, Marjorie?
No,
Marlene.
Because it was funny to me. Like, it in that kind of like, yeah, he's not fucking playing. And that just kind of like,
Yeah.
the shock of it made me laugh. Like, geez.
I think for some reason, in the game you don't see the gun. The gun is underneath the surgical robe.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what it was in this.
and then you shoot through the surgical robe.
Yeah, I was expecting that.
to hit her. But like I guess they didn't want to do that because the gun was kind of out.
Well, so when he was holding her, it was under, and then after you hear the shot, I think afterwards he like had it out, but you didn't see the bullet hole necessarily.
Right.
So I think it was. I don't know if it was a.
I'm probably wrong about that. My brain is probably romanticizing that.
Yeah.
Well, because I was looking specifically because like he was holding her, and I'm like, is he holding her in such a way where he's just gonna like, no 60th no scoper or something like that, and it kind of looked like he was holding in such a way that the gown was over his right hand. I'm like, he's probably holding the pistol in that hand.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you're going to see the shot come through the gown, but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Instead, you cut away, and then when he cut back, his hand is outside of the gown.
Yeah, I guess that whole bit was just so good that Druckmann was like, we're not changing any of this shit. We're just going to leave it like it was.
There was a lot of the way that they scripted and wrote the game that could be just straight to TV or movie. I mean, it was done to be cinematic in many ways. And that's why I feel like if you take out like 90% of the combat, you get about what we got just now.
Yeah. It's 8 hours of TV?
Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
This is actually one of the shorter episodes. It was only like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
43,
I think
something like that.
At the end it was 45, but that was including the recap, which was it was a season recap, which was several minutes long.
Yeah.
Well, that's what worried me when they did the recap and it was the entire fucking season. I was like,
No,
It was coming.
it's still...
If they weren't going to end in the hospital with Joel screwing over humanity to save his beloved Ellie, if we weren't ending at that point, we would have been getting Sam as, I think, the season finale. I think they would have made that the season finale if they weren't going to, and they were going, then they could carry on to the next season with it.
And that's not a good place to end a season, I think.
But I mean, they would probably pick something shocking, and I think the Sam Henry thing would have been the best other place to stop, and that was their mid-season point. When at mid-season they're doing the brothers arc, it's like there's no way they're not going to go ahead and finish off the season.
I think I appreciate the length of it, because I mean you're done. I mean you told the story and you ended in a spot where if there was no second season, the story is done.
Yeah,
it can continue. There's more story to tell, but it is not it's not requisite that you continue telling the story, because the arc is complete.
Yeah.
At least the Joel arc is done, and now you could start like an Ellie arc or whatever, and for your second season, whatever that happens to be. Because I mentioned early on that I knew what was coming, and I know a little bit about what happens in the second game, but mostly I knew what the ending of the first game was, and so that kind of took some of the bite out of my enjoyment of sitting down to watch the season each time, because I knew the broad strokes, but not really the small stuff, and it was watching the small stuff that was kind of fun.
So I must have just been fortunate. I think you watched Joe play a lot of that game, didn't you?
No, I think I zoned it out.
So when Joe bought the game originally and was upstairs, or was in the den basically playing it.
No, he played it in the computer room because we were at the old house.
Oh,
Yeah.
We were at the old house, so we were all in the computer room, and it was up there, and I just ignored it and played probably WoW.
Yeah, we were playing a lot of World of Warcraft at that point, but
Headsets and WoW, you can ignore a lot of what's on the TV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Including Lance watching the TV show he's putting on for the third time.
or Alone in the Dark.
Oh yeah, Lance missed that one. That's very lucky.
how you doing? Hopefully you're not being abused by your friends out there,
This is abuse.
because I hear this shit come up at least 3 times a year. Stop it, you assholes.
It's really ticklish.
It's less of tickling, more of the talents.
No, mine was pretty tickling.
Hey, I've got ADD.
Oh, so every time you get off, do I need to like?
Yes.
Oh, so the next time he wants to bring up something that we explicitly said, hey, we're not going to discuss, we'll just start doing this.
But yeah, it's. I remember Joe played through the game, and I did not have the ending spoiled for me, and he did not tell me anything. But I remember when he was done with it, he was like, "Dude, the game was fucking dope. You should play it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll play it one day." And then I think they released the PlayStation
The remaster
4?
or whatever.
Yeah, and it came out with it, and you still didn't play it.
Yeah, it just sat there, and then finally, I don't know what it was, but one day, I think I started playing it, the normal version, and then we got the PlayStation 4 that came with the remaster, and I stopped, right around the high school, and then went back and played the remastered, and he was right. It was a great game.
And then he replayed it during the pandemic in prep for The Last of Us 2 coming out. Because I was like, I want to see what it's about. And I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
I will play a lot of video games. That is not one of them. I am not good at survival horror. And I'm a chicken shit.
So keep in mind that this is the same person who plays Mass Effect on Nightmare and fucking destroys. And before she started playing it, she was like, I don't know.
Actually, it's insanity.
I don't know how good I am on shooters, especially like third person over the shoulder shooters. And then like flash forward 6 months later, she's like, get some. Oh, you want some too? Get some. I'm like, yeah.
I played a Vanguard. Vanguard is easily the most broken class in Mass Effect to be able to play on Insanity with little prep work.
Okay, then explain yourself when it came to the fucking multiplayer, the online multiplayer. When
I just learned.
Yeah, we were going through different classes, and you were still acing stuff. So if you put your mind to anything, also Guitar Hero. In the beginning, she's like, I don't know if I can get this, and then like she started mastering every song except Vaseline. Sorry. This is loaded up with too many private things. So, but yeah, no, the season was good. I'm looking forward to season 2. It's probably going to be what? 2
years, maybe?
Probably 2. Which, I mean, I know there's been a lot of people going, oh, I hope they recast Ellie. Bella's too young. Bella's already over 18, for one.
Yeah.
At this point. So by the time they get everything written and all this stuff set up, she's going to be 19, 20. She'll be old enough.
I think she was wearing a chest binder for this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
No, I think I saw it in one of the things after the episode. To make herself appear younger.
Okay.
I mean, they're very fortunate that Bella Ramsey has a very, very young-looking face.
Yeah.
She just looks like she's perpetually 12.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. When she's 35 and still looks probably 18, she's gonna love it.
Yeah, she'll just continually be carded.
That's gonna suck. But she's never gonna be carded. She's gonna walk in and be like, "Hey, aren't you the Cordyceps bitch?"
Well, then, aren't you 14?
Yeah, right.
Like,
So
no.
speaking of Cordyceps, I actually I'm on the fence if I like how they explained it or not. I absolutely loved Ashley Johnson's cameo. I thought that was great.
Ellie birthing Ellie.
I thought that was great. I already knew that was probably the way it was going to be because I had heard that her character's name was Anna, and I already knew Ellie's mom's name was Anna. So it was like, okay, well, that's pretty cool that Ashley Johnson's character would be the one giving birth to the character that she voiced. So it's like a circle.
It's like a circle.
You don't like that she was bladed?
Yeah, the damn fear.
No,
Daywalker, the Cordyceps walker.
It's not that. I don't know that I like that they explained it. I don't know if I like it better being a mystery as to why she has immunity, or because in the game, they're like they're not sure why she's immune. They're running tests, but they're like, well, we think if we they want to basically pull out part of her brain because they think that would be the likely root of where it was. It's a lot of guesswork.
So I wonder if they did it that way to make it absolutely certain to Joel, because they didn't tell her like, "Hey, we're going to pull out her brain." It's like, "Oh, it grew." Whatever it was, like it recognizes her as a cordyceps zombie, and like, well, that only happens when it grows into the brain. And she's like, "Oh," and then that was kind of like his decision being made. So I wonder if it served that purpose, where it wasn't up in the air to be like, well, maybe we can find a cure for it and not have to cut her brain out. He's like, no, in order for this cure to happen, she has to die.
Well, in the game, they were gonna cut out her brain no matter what, but they don't really. There's a lot more guesswork. They're not certain. They just think that because that's where the infection tends to go, that's has to be where the immunity was.
They're gonna get in there and see what makes it tick.
And I think by making it certain, they can kind of. I don't know if it's make the audience more on Joel's side or whatever, because Joel absolutely knows that is the only way she could ever be harvested or whatever. Like, you're not gonna just like, oh, let me get a diagnosis, like some blood work. Like, no, it's in the brain.
Well, they did a whole lot of that on the way there. It was kind of like, oh, when I'm done, we'll go and do the fucking sheep or whatever. But like, I think it makes it more tragic and more final. Like, if you want to survive cordyceps, it's kind of like the Flash getting his power, a lightning bolt in a lab, the 1 in 5 billion chance. Like, what are you gonna tell new moms? You want your kid to be immune to this? We're gonna have a zombie bite you right as you're giving birth to it, and then we're gonna cut the cord, and maybe she'll be immune to it. Who knows?
Yeah, we and see that's the other thing is, like, we just have to assume that's gave her that. We still don't necessarily know. But like I said, I'm on the fence of whether or not I like that reveal. Sometimes there's some intrigue in having mysteries. So I feel like some of that mystery was pulled back. And, for me, it's just like, I like some unknown variables
Yeah,
in
and
play.
it can also make the Doctor seem more kooky. To be like,
Yeah.
we don't know why she's immune. We're going to cut her brain out.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll tell us.
But,
Nope. My bad.
but... Yeah,
Oopsies.
I mean,
It's all-
but
it's all
other than that,
brainsies.
but other than that, I really did like the inclusion of the Ashley Johnson scene, and the relationship between Anna and Marlene. I felt like they did a lot, but I felt like the last episode was really rushed. Like the pacing of the last episode, it felt like they were like, we gotta hit these beats, and
It's
it was
just
just like bam, 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 and it's just like
Yeah, which is why I was thinking the montage gunfight seemed a little weird to me. Kind of like you could stretch this out a little bit
Yeah.
and give us some gunplay.
I mean, it's the finale, and it's one of the shortest episodes,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
can
just
see
like.
Could stretch it out.
I'm not saying they needed to, make a whole another season to get to this point, but it's like, it felt like there could have been more moments.
Yeah, like another
and I get that
10 minutes.
we were dealing with Ellie being PTSD, and so she was very withdrawn, but it felt like it could have had more.
So I think you and Nick said it before it happened, but like when we got to the point we did with him walking into the operating room, like right after that, Nick was like, "So this feels like this is a really short episode," and I think you said at the same time because you were like, "We're like at the 45-minute mark or something like
we're
that."
here already, huh?
Yeah, and then like you said the same thing too. You were kind of like, "Okay, well, I guess we're here at this point now." Then they have what happened. Then the end of the episode, and I remember I pushed the button to see where we were in the time allotment, and there was like still 10 minutes. And I know they have that little featurette at the end of the thing saying this is blah, but like I agree. It's like some of those episodes went 55 minutes this season. Then there were other episodes that would drift into like the 120 mark or something like that.
There was more. There was 2 episodes that were 100 or 120 minutes. Because
Yeah,
there was one that was 100 minutes. And that might have been the first episode.
Yeah, I understand for the first one because they kind of jammed 2
And then the
together.
Frank Bill movie was obviously 2 hours. But then there were so many more that were around that 60-minute mark, 50 to 60 minutes. But this one was barely over 40, and it just. It felt rushed.
Yeah, episode 1 was an hour 21 minutes. Episode 3 was an hour and 16 minutes. The rest are like 53, 45, 59 for Endure and Survive, 59 for Ken, 55, 50, and like
43.
Like 43 or something.
You felt it. You felt that it was short.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they stitched episodes together. I don't know.
I don't even know.
I think you said that they put episode 1 and 2 together.
Well, 1 and 2 were put together because originally they were going to end with Joel throwing the kid's body on the fire, and they were like, you don't even get to the point where you meet Ellie. Let's bring Ellie into the first episode.
Which, agreed. Ellie needs to be in the first episode.
So that was why episode 1 became such a long episode, is because they basically had to bring in what they were going to do for episode 2 originally and merge that into there because
which I think is I appreciate that.
they wanted to have Ellie introduced since the story isn't just Joel. That would have established. They were worried that it would make it seem like the story is about Joel and not Joel and Ellie, because it is a 2 protagonist story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just going to ask if anyone had other thoughts or if we wanted to move on to.
My season, my first season of the show was very different when I played it on the game, because I went into the hospital and I was a fucking ghost. No one saw me. I shivved every motherfucker in that building, and on the way out, I creeped out like a fart in the wind, dodging everybody. So, maybe if they would have filmed my version of the end of the show, it might have went at least an hour.
Maybe, but it would have been less fun.
I don't know. Shanking people is pretty fun.
But watching him just be like blank in the face, shooting people that were going to try to kill Ellie was enjoyable.
Yes.
Like it's
getting to see the bad guy version of Joel, because the version of Joel that saves Ellie is the one that everyone warns Ellie about.
Yes, and he's absolutely the villain. He did a bad guy thing.
Yeah.
As Henry said.
But that said, if that was my son,
Oh yeah, it's the right.
I not only would I murder everybody on the way out of the hospital, but I'd be like flash dancing in their fucking guts.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
it's it's you can't give essentially a parent like we have to kill your kid to save humanity. To be like, well, screw humanity. I'm not giving you
Yeah.
my kid to save humanity, and that is the emotional incorrect decision.
Yeah.
If you're looking at humanity as a numbers game, but you can't do that either. You can't like what's the not the trolley problem, but the other one where you have like 5 patients dying and then 1 patient who's healthy, and you could take all of his organs out and give them to these 5 people and save 5 lives. Well, 5 lives is greater than 1 life. Isn't that the ethical thing to do? It's like, no, you can't. You can't kill someone to save other people.
Yeah.
Even if it saves more lives. In the end.
And it's one of those things of absolute. I'm going to say this here, and it'll make more sense later. This is the hill I will die on. That it is okay to be like, Joel did the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
He did arguably a very good thing, but he was a very bad man in it. He was clearly the villain. I will die on that hill, and I understand anything that comes his way for that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You killed a lot of motherfuckers just because you couldn't let go. This is what you were hired for. This is what you were supposed to do. This is what she wanted.
And he became Anakin.
Yeah.
He became the Anakin.
Yeah, this is what would save the world or whatever, right?
Well, it's like when y'all were saying that, I was sitting there thinking, you're going to give up your child to save the world, and then I think about the world that it's in now, and it's like I wouldn't have my kid give up a pint of blood to save the fucking planet in the state it's in right now.
People are treating each other awful.
Yeah.
You're not even if they manage to kill her and get a cure, are they going to be able to go like, look, we got the cure, and not just get gunned down by raiders?
No.
Like, it's not just enough to have the cure. You have to have the infrastructure
let's be real.
to implement it.
Mm-hmm.
One of Joel's biggest regrets is clearly going to be the fact that he failed to save Sarah,
Yeah.
and he's being presented with a chance to fix that in a way.
And it's even mirrored in the fact that hit the last shot he's holding Ellie in the same way he was holding Sarah at gunpoint to someone else, except this time
he had
a gun.
Mm-hmm. I guess I didn't think about it that way. That's very
the way he picked her up and was carrying her, I'm like, this is, if he gets gunned and down in the back again or something like that, that's exactly like how it went down to Sarah. And now he had like the chance to flip the script and save.
But Joel's a bad man, and the bad man Joel, the one that Maria warns Ellie about, the one that everyone's like, that Joel warns Ellie about, that he was a bad man, that Tommy and Joel talk about how they did bad shit. That's the man that saved her.
Yeah.
And that's important to remember.
Yeah.
No, we didn't see that. Maybe if they actually went back and did like a mid-season, like this is how Joel survived, people would be like, God damn, that dude's fucking brutal. But I mean,
they don't want to. They do a wonderful job showing you that Joel is a bad man. They tell you and they show you through the way that he acts, but they never go back and inform you of how he did it.
Well,
and I think that's important because I like it better when I don't know all those little facts, because I can fill in some really messed up shit of what he probably did in my head, and that's probably worse than what they would show me.
Yeah. Well, it's you kind of get an idea how bad Joel is in the first episode when Homeboy was holding what was her name, the girl that passed at the bank or the museum, Tess. And he's like, what about your man? And she's like, I'll control your man. He's like, well, what if he comes after me? That dude was shitting his fucking socks.
Like, do you guys know who you punched?
Yeah.
The man behind it he's not a hero.
Yeah. But
he tells you he's not a hero.
He was less apologetic to Tess for doing what he did and more like,
don't let Joel hurt me.
Please don't sick Joel on me. And she's like, I'll contain him. And even then he's like, fucking no.
Will you though? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but yeah, I mean, it was still a good episode.
It was good. And the season is good. I think it's an above average show, which is what a 7 is.
It's a great video game adaptation.
Yes.
Low bar.
Yeah, I guess I would like Arcane better, but that has nothing to do with it. It's not a good video game adaptation per se. It's a good video game show. Whereas I think this adaptation is good.
Arcane is a video game lore TV show.
Yeah.
It is based off the lore of a video game, but
Yeah.
it brought in a few of the playable characters, but it's not really an adaptation.
Yes, whereas this is like
an
adaptation, and I don't know if there is a video game adaptation that is better than this.
I don't think there is.
No, it's like we're hitting that golden age. It took a really long time for us to slog through a bunch of bullshit from fucking video game shows and movies. Yes, and now we're here. We're here. Like, so, it just took a while.
So now all we need is to cast Pedro Pascal in BioShock Infinite, so we can have a third show in which Pedro Pascal protects a younger secondary protagonist.
Hear me out. We cast Pedro Pascal in some sort of Mass Effect themed one, but we just come up with a young Ward. Like we'll make it a prequel, and his young Ward is David Anderson.
So what you're saying is, if we did the BioShock one,
It's BioShock Infinite specifically, because you've got what's her name, Elizabeth? With you?
right, in Comstock.
Yeah.
Well, so I was thinking that you could do him in the original BioShock as well. So like he's walking around in the suit, and just like the Mandalorian, he's like,
Holding a little sister.
yeah, holding a little sister, like looking her in the eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they're making a movie about Borderlands, and they've already cast Jack Black as Claptrap. We'll just make Pedro Pascal one of the characters, and he's got to protect Claptrap.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to add about this episode in particular?
Not really. Very true to the video game. It was a great episode. If for some weird fucking reason you're watching this without watching the show,
Go watch
stop
the show.
it.
Seriously,
Go
what are you-
watch the show. It's good.
Seriously,
So-
what are you doing? So do people have favorite episodes?
Mine would probably Endure and Survive.
Okay.
That was the Sam Henry one, right? Yeah, that's my favorite. I would say, and I say that taking 3 out of the mix.
Yes.
I
So
have to take 3 out of the mix to look at my favorite episode. of the
Yes,
season.
I think I would have to agree, because I think 3 is my favorite, but then we've divorced that because it is its own movie.
Yeah, but Endure and Survive, and that's because that was the one episode that emotionally moved me. I think after that it would be the first episode with
Do you have a favorite, Lance?
You know, it's tough for me to say if there was a favorite, because there was something to be loved about every episode. I did like Endure and Survive, but it kind of got spoiled for me. It's just like,
Because it was so like the video game or whatever.
yeah, but it was like, the weird thing is that I expected nothing from episode 3, and I expected everything from Endure and Survive, and then they fucking flipped it, and like, that's, to me, that is the way you subvert expectations. I think they did it in the best way possible. So like, to pick out a favorite episode of the season, I guess I would have to go with, I'd have to go with this one.
Okay.
Like, I thought this episode was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Just for the fact of, if you've got something that's great, don't fuck with it. If you got a great recipe, just leave it the fuck alone. And I think that's what they did with this episode.
I think my favorite is the first one, When You're Lost in the Darkness. But I think I really like Please Hold My Hand, because that's when they start to bond. And I think that's, after a long, long time, I liked seeing just Joel and Ellie like driving around, making stupid puns, getting lost in the city.
was that number 4?
That was number 4.
Yeah, so it was the precursor.
Yeah, it was essentially right after Lost.
I think it was because I tend to like things like, if you can emotionally move me to the point where I'm sobbing uncontrollably for like multiple minutes, it's probably going to be rated really highly by me. Whether I go back and watch it again is always debatable, because I love being moved in that kind of way, but I don't want to experience that depth of emotion every time I watch it, and I'm afraid that it will. So the stuff like Up, I can't watch. All Dogs Go to Heaven, I can't watch. Probably Endure and Survive. I don't know if I can rewatch that episode, because it hit me hard, and then I knew it was coming the whole time, and it still hit me hard.
I Am Legend.
I can't watch I Am Legend.
Yeah. And
we were dumb and got German Shepherd dogs after I Am Legend, and then I'm like, I can never watch that movie.
Yeah, so if it ever does come up on the channel, we'll just have to be like, and Amber, plug your earplugs.
Earmuffs.
Earmuffs.
Yeah.
And then we'll fast forward a little bit.
No, you speaking about I Am Legend, we were in Atlanta at what's the restaurant that's in Pulp Fiction?
Big Kahuna.
Big Kahuna. We are at a Big Kahuna in Atlanta at Dragon Con. I Am Legend is playing on one of the big screens right there. And it's almost at that scene. And Lance's just like, just look at your food. Just look at your food.
Well, I think first I looked up and I went, don't look up at the TV. And then you look up the TV and I went, check, please. We have to leave before this part comes on. I was like, you could step outside if you want. She's like, no, I'll just look down.
I'll just look at me. Just let me know when it's over.
But that was also the magical night that we had someone at that restaurant that was dressed like Samuel L. Jackson in the T-shirt after they
at
blew
like the end of the movie.
Yeah,
kind of
he was
outfit.
wearing the T-shirt and he was wearing the shorts. He had the fucking Jerry curl and shit. He was carrying the briefcase. He looked good. And I saw him and I was like, oh my God, you're dressed like Samuel Jackson and you're in a big Kahuna burger. And he's like, yeah, man, it's a good fucking burger. You know, like he did the lines. He never broke character. That was such a good night. Oh my God. But
so I just wanted to tack on, similar to how like it wrecks you emotionally, you can't do it anymore, was when I played Life is Strange. That game wrecked me emotionally, and I love it. And I've never been able to go back through and finish the game.
There's certain things I was just like, I can't. But there are some movies, Steel Magnolias. I've watched that movie probably 50 times. That's probably fairly accurate. I've watched it a lot as a kid. Never moved me emotionally until I was about a teenager. And then it's just like late teens, like 16, 17, and then I started bawling all the time. I've watched that movie dozens upon dozens of times before that, and then suddenly one day I just start getting heartbroken at the scene where Sally Field is losing it, and I still love the movie. I can still watch that one, and I think it's because of the nostalgia. But there's like, I cry so easily, and it's really hard now for me to go and want to just watch those stuff that just moves me. But I love them when they do it, because it's a testament to the acting and the story at that point.
I don't think I have that.
Well,
I don't think there's
a show that you can't go back and watch.
Yeah, I don't think there's a show or a game or anything like that moved me so emotionally. Okay, never mind. I just thought of one. I knew you were going to bring it up, so I tried to beat you to it. Jojo Rabbit is one that I was actually going to ask you to watch.
Okay.
It's the movie about Hitler Youth in Germany.
It's a Taika
Waititi movie where he's playing Adolf Hitler, and this kid is like has this.
Scarlett Johansson.
It has like a fantasized version in his head of like how Adolf Hitler would be like a cool dude because they're talking him up or whatever.
I've not watched it,
but like that movie was just like. It was. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to ruin anything. But it was like basically, it was fine, and then I was fucking emotionally devastated, and I was sitting in the back of the theater, like I was sobbing my eyes out, and I was trying to hold my breath so I wouldn't like ruin the movie for everybody else. And I thought I was going to suffocate because my chest hurt so bad, my head hurt so bad. Like I almost walked
I wasn't
out,
with him for this.
I almost walked out the theater, but like I literally at the end of that movie, I walked out the theater, went to my car, just cried uncontrollably for like 10 minutes.
I think he called his therapist.
And then
actually.
I immediately called my therapist, who I had not talked to in like a couple of months, and I was like, "We need to talk now." Wow. And he was like, "Okay," and he talked to me a little bit on the phone. Then I started going back to see him, but like I don't know what it was. Well, I know exactly what it was, but that said, all of that said, I could probably sit down and watch the movie again now. But yeah, I think that's the only one that had that.
Oh my God, why did I do this?
Well, I think it's the only movie that had that kind of a visceral reaction to me because.
But the thing is, you never know going into something what's going to have that impact on you, and that's the unfortunate thing. And so, like for me, I knew The Brothers was going to be tough. I did not know it was going to be that rough on me, though.
Yeah.
And I can respect and appreciate that. So.
Yeah, well, you said that like after we watched the first episode when we were back in the bedroom that night, you were like, "That episode's coming, and I'm probably gonna fucking lose my shit." And I was like, "Yeah, you probably are," And then it showed that the end of the second episode when kid stepped up and he had the red across his eyes. I was like, "Here we go, Amber." Episode 4. Yeah, I was like, "Here we go, Amber."
It's gonna be like the countdown at the end of the 24 episodes or whatever. Doot. It's coming. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's gonna be here.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Emotionally wrecked 2 weeks.
No, wonder of. All right, we're at the end anyways.
I think. Is there anything else we want to add about Last of Us in general, or are we kind of? I think
everything I need to say I can't say because it's
A lot of
it's
it is
spoilery.
in context of
Yeah.
of what's to come.
It's in context of what's to come, so I can say it off camera once we turn it off.
Yeah, which, I mean, there's always the possibility of us, or you're two more specifically, because I've not played
Yeah.
the second game, of just getting on and talking about that game and what it could mean
Yeah.
for the show, and have that be its own thing,
Yeah.
where you guys
Bless
can
you.
get as
Bless you.
where you guys can get as spoilery as you want, and it is dissolved to sneeze and casses. So I think we can move on.
Yep.
All right. So if you joined us for all 9 of these episodes,
Thank you.
Thank you. This was
Thank you.
This was
We
an
love you
experiment
so
to see
much.
if
People like us.
Well, if episode by episode is interesting, or if you like our summing it up in like an hour rather than as long as the show was, probably.
This was our Hail Mary pass to try and get more people to see us, because we figured if we got something out there immediately, that when people went and searched Last of Us 2 episode, like, we would be one of the first 1,000 to put a video up, and maybe we'd get more eyes. Hopefully this experiment worked and we can do more of this, but if not...
No, otherwise we'll keep it to season at a time, unless people are like, no, episode at a time is the way to go.
Yeah. So, say something down in the comments and let us know what you think.
I'll let you know.
let us know
when I get
preference.
sleep.
It hurts every time you say it. All
And
right.
we've got people watching like Mike and Frank and I know Daniel. We got friends.
Yeah,
they're just quiet down there.
Yeah.
Let us know. Talk to us, please. I'm so lonely.
Make it so I'm not the only one commenting, please.
Yeah. Tell your friends. And by friends, I mean other people than me. So,
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
see ya.